Hey, Jameson Velsky here to talk about my third plenary speaker and talk about the 3 commandments for Christians in politics talk. The first takeaway was kind of something from the beginning of the video when he was introducing this topic and just considering a new perspective or something I had never really learned before. But he said something that to the effect that people who take in the most political news are the ones more likely to think of one side as further left or right than they actually are. So the term he used to describe this was nut picking, which is when you take out the most extreme or corrupt thing from one side and use it as a symbol of the whole. So like if there was one person who was way left or one person who was way right, you would use using them as the poster child pretty much for that whole side of the political spectrum, which is not a good thing because not everybody is like that. More people are like-minded or kind of central. They're not super radical. So that's just something to watch out for. Going in the next part of the video, he talked about the 3 commandments, which were act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly. This is found in Micah 6:8, I believe he said. I know it's in Micah, but that's like one of the more famous verses from Micah. And the walk humbly one was one that I really found interesting because one of the things he said in that was, I don't know everything, I can learn from you. So that's kind of just the perspective you should have going into conversations and like knowing that, you don't know everything, you're not always right, and just being humble about that and showing humility in conversation because that can go a long way and, you can learn something from every conversation that you have. So I don't know. He was kind of emphasizing that you should present yourself as humble when you're in conversations, especially talking about politics, and just willing to listen and to learn from others. So, yeah. And then my third takeaway was the act justly, which kind of goes along with the love mercy. I mean, all 3 of them should really work together, and he said that they should be harmonized in our lives. So we should be always trying to find a perfect balance between these 3 things, but obviously we're never going to be able to because we're not perfect people and we sin and we can't do this perfectly, especially without the help of God. But right now on this earth we'll never be able to do this perfectly. But one of the examples he used for this act justly was the civil rights movement in the 60s, because he was talking about seeing injustice in America, and to act justly, you want to solve that injustice. So they saw the injustice and they worked to fix it without violence, even though on the other side they're receiving a lot of violence. And he also said, like, at the core, this movement was rooted in Christian thought, and Christians were leading it and helping to pass the Civil Rights Act and kind of move the civil rights movement forward. So I just thought that was a good example of acting justly and just putting all these things into practice, really, because there was no violence involved from the side that was fighting against the civil injustices, but they were still able to solve their problem and solve this injustice while doing it lovingly and kindly and mercifully. And obviously, there were bumps in the road here and there. It wasn't perfect movement because, again, we're sinful humans. So nothing we do will ever be perfect, but it was a good example to use for all 3 of these things. That's all I have.